Good evening. My name is Dr. Susan Feneck. I am the CEO and founder of Juvenile Justice Impact. And this evening we have with us Siloh Moses, who is the founder of Serving Hope Las Vegas and the CEO of Dips and Sticks. And we're going to learn tonight about homelessness, homeless youth, and how he became involved in his other company and several of his inspirational stories. Thank you so much for being here.
Of course, thanks.
So tell us about Serving Hope Las Vegas. I know you've been doing this for a long time. 6 years is a long time to be serving the homelessness. And tell us all about it.
Yeah, Serving Hope is a grassroots organization here in Las Vegas. We serve those who are less fortunate. So less fortunate to us is anyone who's unemployed, underemployed, and or homeless. And we serve them with fresh food, clothing, hygiene, haircuts.
And how did you come about how did this company even come about? Like, where did it originate from?
Yeah, it originated from me. I was the first volunteer, and I went down into the homeless corridor with a single pot of spaghetti. And with that single pot of spaghetti, I served 30 people. And then I went home and told somebody what I did. And the following week, they came back with me, and we both served. That time, we served 60 people. And then they went home and told somebody what we did. Then they brought somebody back with them. And then we served 90, and we just started grow.
And so, what inspired you to even start this?
Yeah, well, I was serving those who were less fortunate because I was less fortunate myself. So I was homeless here in Vegas for 7 months. And I didn't sleep out of a car. I didn't, surf any couches. I basically slept in abandoned buildings and ate food wherever I could find it.
I think you told the story at one of our masterminds. Wasn't there someone in a 7-Eleven gas station?
Yeah.
Are you surprised I remember that?
Yeah, awesome.
That was so many years ago, right?
Yeah.
Tell us about that story.
So I'm weeks, right, into being less fortunate myself. I call my mom and I figure out my mom wasn't going to help me. So now I've gone even deeper into this rabbit hole of depression and et cetera. So at this point, I figured if my own mom's not going to come save me, no one will. This months into being homeless, I run into this guy by the name of Eric. And I mean run into him, meaning like he basically ran into me. Right, because I used to hang out at 7-Eleven, and I would hang out there. Again, less fortunate, hair's disheveled, face is just nasty, right? Wearing the same clothes for 6 months, ripped, torn, and dirty, sure didn't smell good. And this guy would just come up every day and be like, hey, do you need something to eat? And I'd be like, are you talking to me? Because no one's talked to me in 6 months.
Right.
Me? And so my first initial reaction was, get away from me. Like, what do you want from me? It's crazy. I'm less fortunate. I'm saying, what do you want from me, right? I don't have anything. But he kept coming back every single day. Hey, man, you want something to eat? Hey, man, you want something to drink? Hey, man, you want something to eat? Right? Every single day. And every single day, I was telling him, get away from me. Don't bother me. And he'd come back every single day. Until eventually, that, 100th day he came back, I started to let him in. And I started to listen to him. I go, you know what? I could use something to eat. And that was a switch to everything, turned everything.
And weren't you, I can't believe I even remember this because it was like so many years ago, but weren't you sitting on the steps of the office building and you wound up having to have an office in that building? Was it something like that?
I slept in the office in that building that Eric gave me.
Are you surprised I remember
Yeah,
this?
very good memory.
This was
awesome.
So many years ago.
So he had an office space in which he was starting a new company with a new partner. The partnership fell through, and it was a small space, like 10 by 12. Like it was not grandiose by any means, right?
It served a purpose.
It served a purpose, and he was like, "Hey, I didn't pay the rent on it last month. I don't plan on paying the rent on it this month. Anything that's in that office, they could throw away in the trash. I could care less about. But I still have the key. And he's like, if you want it, I'll give it to you."
Wow.
And I said, hell yeah.
And that's like, I remember you talking about this at one of the masterminds several years ago, and that was kind of the beginning of your journey in your company serving home?
Yeah, it was a whole transitioning period, right? It was once I had that, I knew when he said, "Hey, do you want this key?" He could have given me a key, and the very next day, management could have came and kicked me out.
Right.
But at least I had a roof over my head for one night, right? So that key was more than just a key to a door that I had a roof over my head. It was a key to opportunity.
It was kind of the key to the rest of your life.
Yeah.
I mean, and in the fact that you were homeless and then you happened to, it's like the universe guided you to be on that doorstep.
Right.
The universe guided you to go to that 7-Eleven gas station every day.
Yeah. And I only went there because it was easy for me to get change. Like when people would get in and out of their cars and they had change in their pocket,
right.
the change would hit the ground. And 12 cents is not worth them picking up. To me, it was.
Of course.
Right? So I would hang out there and just wait.
For people
I would just wait.
For people to
yeah.
get
Like 12 cents here, 10 cents there, 25 cents there. That adds up to a bag of chips. That means I get to eat today.
Oh my goodness. How did you, what inspired you?
To, serving hope?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just my own personal story of going through, So when I met Eric, and Eric helped me get back on my feet, and I was able to actually live a productive life again. And 6 months from that point where I met Eric and I'm back on my feet, at that period I decided to go out and give back and pay it forward. And for me, it was more of paying homage to where I just came from.
Exactly.
It was like paying respects, right? To say I'm so glad I was able to get out of that. Let me go back and make some kind of impact. But I know if I would still be doing it years later, had no idea whatsoever. But if I can go down there with this pot of spaghetti and serve 30 people, I paid homage to where I just came from.
And so you woke up one day and you thought, I'm going to serve some spaghetti.
Yeah, well, I only served spaghetti because it's all I had.
Right.
I'm just getting back on my feet. I didn't have steaks in my freezer, right? It was I was living on ramen and spaghetti, right? So I'm still getting back on my feet.
Sure.
But I still had an extra box of spaghetti. Where I was like, you know what? I can make it through the week or whatever on just one box of spaghetti. I don't need two.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to make one box. I'm going to go serve it.
And then it just became viral.
Yeah.
Right?
It just took off.
So he served 30 people with spaghetti. Then it turned into 60.
Yeah.
Then it turned into...
And then we were doing Monday, because we serve every single Monday, religiously. We never took a Monday off. And it went from 30 people to 60 to the biggest Monday night serving I ever did was close to 560 people.
So where would you prepare all this food?
All the food we made at home. So all our volunteers, they'd make the food in their own kitchens and they'd bring it down and serve it. All the clothing that we gave out came from our own closets. All the toiletries, shampoo, and conditioners came from our own bathrooms, right? So everything we served came from our own personal property, our homes.
And that gives you such a genuine feeling of giving back because it's yours.
Yeah, it's yours. And you're not only that, but you're coming down to a Monday night event where we're serving, and it's going directly to those who can make an impact with it, right? It's not going through an organization and then somehow getting back to the community. It's you're standing right in front of someone who's less fortunate, who's also disheveled, hasn't showered in 4 weeks, and you're giving them a sandwich.
And you're the best example of showing these people that there's another life that can be ahead of them.
Yeah. I mean, all it takes is just, belief, right? And just being able to, put yourself out there.
And it's just so you came up with this idea and you're serving thousands of people over the years, and those people were the same people you were.
Yeah.
So when you meet them, you're like, that was me and I want to help them overcome where they are.
Yeah.
And have you seen any of those people that have been able to progress in their life?
Yeah. I mean, that's the best part. I mean, there's so many stories I can tell you of people we served who on the other side of the table who were looking for food, and then 9 months later they came back and I was serving on the other side of the table.
That is awesome.
So that's the best part.
That's incredible. When you see results of what you're doing, that's all that matters, really.
Yeah, and then you see them take off, and they've got an apartment now, they've started relationships, they're having kids, they're getting married, and you're like, wow, met you like here, like now you're here.
When you were me.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
But they're inspired because they know that you were in the same position they were, and it's not like you're making it up. I mean, that was your path. So you had that path to serve all these people.
Yeah.
To change all of these lives.
Yeah. And as long as they were ready, I knew it took them to get to where they need to go.
That's the key word, that they're ready.
Yeah, because we have a saying: we'll serve everyone, but we won't just serve anyone. They have to be ready.
Right.
They have to be ready.
What would you say is the percentage of the people that really wanted to follow in your footsteps and actually did it?
Ooh, good question. Yeah, I don't know what that is. I really don't. I think everyone's special. Like every single person that's come to serve on the other side of the table is special. I don't think I've ever even tracked that. It's a good question. If I had to throw a number out there, maybe 10, 12%.
That's high. I mean, that's huge because coming from, that when you're coming from being homeless, right? It's so hard, I would imagine at times, to think that they can actually do it, right? So there's a lot of moving parts, so you have to inspire them, you have to lead them, you have to let them know that you believe in them, and teach them that they can believe in themselves, and that's not easy.
Yeah.
So even 10% is like huge.
And you have to have the resources. Because you never know when they're going to be ready. So you always have to be ready. Right? Because the second they're ready, they're not going to wait for you to go, okay, now let me get those resources. Right. It's like the second they're ready, you need to be ready.
And how did you prepare them? Did the serving help also teach them like life skills?
Yeah, so we have partners because we knew what we were good at. One of the things that we do, like as an organization, I'm really proud of, is that we're not siloed. We don't think we're too good for other organizations out there that are similarly doing the same thing that we're doing, or even doing the exact same thing that we're doing. We're like, no, let's partner up.
Sure.
Because
that's what it's all about.
Yeah, we're like, we know what we're good at. We also know what we suck at, right? Like we're great at food, clothing, hygiene, and haircuts. I'm not good at drug rehab or counseling.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not good at like all those other things. Like I'm just not good at it. But I'm really great at food, clothing, and hygiene, and haircuts.
Right.
And then if you're good at counseling for drug, alcohol addiction, cool. We need to partner up. Because I got a guy over here who can use you.
That's awesome. I think one of the biggest strengths that a person or an organization can have is understanding the limitations.
Yeah.
Because the person or the organization or whatever, like, oh, we can do everything.
Right.
But understanding that your speciality is these four things, then you know that that's 100% solid.
Right. And I also know that's all we have to worry about.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's less tracking, right?
Yeah, like I'm not worried about all this over here because we're great at food, clothing, hygiene, so let's be great at food, clothing, hygiene. And leave the rest up to someone else.
And I think one time you had mentioned how you had a homeless elderly man, and you had cleaned him all up.
Yeah.
And what a difference it made in his life, right?
Yeah. Are you talking about the double amputee?
Yeah.
Yeah. Double amputee. He was living in a hotel. Hadn't had his hair cut in 9 months. Was completely matted. I don't know if you've ever seen like a dog with matted hair. Just completely matted. So getting through the knots in his hair to cut his hair at least took 2 hours. And he didn't have long hair. It was just like hair to make it here. It still took 2 hours. But yeah, we went in, we cleaned him up, shaved him, gave him brand new clothes, food, everything, hooked him up with job resources, and he was like $1 million when we were done.
Isn't that insane?
Yeah.
Like, it's just and imagine how much did that cost?
Nothing really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that like with even having a minimal of resources, you could change a person's life.
Right.
In 2 hours.
Right. Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, think about it. So you gave him a new look, and I'm sure that must have been painful with it being so mad on his head, right? and you gave me clothes, you gave a whole new outlook, and I'm sure after that whole process, he was like, I feel pretty good about myself.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
like, and then he spread the word and encouraged someone else, and then he encouraged those people, encouraged someone else, and it's just like this huge ripple effect.
Right. I like to say, it doesn't matter how much gas you have in the car, it doesn't start until it starts in the engine.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, so that spark, and that spark doesn't cost anything.
And the amount of people that you've helped, I mean, do you ever get to talk with them or see them after they succeeded and they come
Yeah,
back?
they always come back.
That's incredible.
They always come back. That's the best
I
part.
love
But
it.
they always come back to brag. Not brag, sorry, to brag. They always come back to brag.
Well,
They're
that's
like,
good,
I'm like,
right?
again, I love it too. I'm like, tell me more. They're like, oh yeah, like that. Like, all right, so we had this one guy. I'm not gonna say his name. We'll call him T. And yeah, we met T in a very bad place. Like, he was at one of our events, and we were doing free clothing hiking on Monday nights. He had come, and he was completely, first time I met him, high on spikes. Now, out of his mind, out of his absolute mind. And the people in mine told me that he was high on spikes. And we have a rule in our mind. Like, if there's 500 people and one person's drunk, no one gets served. If there's 500 people in mine who are waiting for a meal and one person's high, no one gets served. Yeah. So now what starts to happen in our servings is the people in mine start to police themselves because they're hungry. So they're not going to allow someone who's drunk to show up and ruin their opportunity to eat. Right? So when he showed up, they ran over to me. They're like, Siloh, this guy is here. He's high on spikes. Please, we don't know him. Just, we want to eat. Can you please do something? I was like, all right, cool. So I'm going to tell him, of course, I met him completely high out of his mind. He's just high, talking about aliens and just like, he didn't think that, he was like, he didn't know if I was an alien. I was like, all right, dude, we'll give you a plate of food, but you got to go. So we gave him a plate of food and he's gone. Well, fast forward 9 months later, he went to jail for 3 hours, 9 months. He was downtown, did something, cops picked him up, put him in jail. And while he was in jail, he got sober. And he came back to our Monday night, the first day out of jail. Now, this time when he came back, the people in mine were like, T is back again. Siloh, please, we want to eat. Please, can you just do something? Yeah. So I went up to him, and I was like, T, you back? He goes, yeah, I'm back. I was like, oh, you're here. I didn't expect that. I was like, wait, did you just respond? Right? And he's like, yeah. I was like, where you been? He's like, I was in jail. I said, oh, okay. He goes, yeah, I got sober in jail. I was like, oh, okay. Well, awesome. And he's like, I just want to tell you something. I was like, what's up? He's like, during that entire time I was on Spice, I don't remember a thing. Not one thing. Like, nothing. He said, but I do remember that first Monday night when I came down at 90. And I said, okay, tell me what you remember. He goes, I remember I was so high that 8 people in mine wanted to beat me up and you stopped them. Because they wanted to eat. And he was ruining their opportunity to eat. And there was 8 people in mine that wanted to dump him. And I stepped in and said, no, you guys aren't touching him. I don't know T. He's high off his mind, but you guys can't. You're not going to touch him. And he remembered that. So he came down, he started volunteering with us, he started getting back with us, he started to get back on his feet, he got an apartment, he got a car, then he got another car, a convertible 2-door sports car.
You're like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I'm like, you're doing better than I am. What the heck's going on, right? And he got his daughters back in his life, he made up with his ex, their mother, like they didn't get back together, but they had made amends, right? Got a great job, and he's doing phenomenal today.
All because of you.
Well, I mean, he did all the work, right?
Right,
it was
but
me.
you inspired him.
Yeah.
And I'm sure in all of his spice,
Yeah, it's like
induced times, he probably wasn't even aware of the damage that he may be doing.
right.
But he remembered that one moment that ultimately changed his whole life.
Yeah, you remember that moment when someone stood up for him who didn't even know who he was.
Yeah, it's incredible how people that sometimes we don't even know change our lives forever.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're we serve so many people in our community. We have such an awesome community, don't we?
Yeah.
And all the people that you've served in our community, all the lives that you've changed, you're like an earth angel.
Wow.
No, seriously, like you come into these people's lives and you're speaking from hardcore experience.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I knew someone who had cancer and who wound up going on to Juvenile as an adult. And not that you always have to have one to do the other, but that first-hand experience, like you know exactly where each person is coming from. Because you knew exactly from where you came from.
Yeah. They know they can't BS me, that's what it is. Right? They know. They come up to me, like, when they come up to me in mine, and they're like, Siloh, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to make a change. I'm ready to stop doing whatever it was that they're doing. I can just look at them up and down and be like, no, they're not.
Yeah.
So I'll see you in 4 months.
But then I'm sure you've looked at other people up and down and been like, you know what, you're ready.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
I look them up and down, like, you're right, you are ready.
And then you hook them up with all these incredible community programs.
Yeah, job placement, roof over their head, day labor work if they need it, because that's usually where they start when they're getting back in the future.
Job readiness.
Yeah, we can have them up with day labor work, and then they grow from there. Then they get into an office space, and then they get into
All the way.
a 9-to-5 job, right?
And they live a life that they would have not otherwise known if they hadn't met you.
Yeah.
This must be such an incredible feeling.
Yeah.
Seriously, like when you go to bed at night, you must think, where is my place in this world and where's my place in this life? And you think about all the lives that you've saved. I mean, think about all the lives you've saved. I'm sure, like, when you were in a position of being homeless, I'm sure that there were days that you felt like there wasn't going to be another day because you just felt so probably upset, right?
Yeah. There were so many days where I was just like, yep, today's the day. I jump in front of a moving bus, right? Today's the day, and then something will happen where it wasn't the day. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's such a hard place to be in, and where you must think that there is no light at the end of the tunnel. There's no hope. There is no help, and then you come along, and you have just done so much. And you just, like I said, you must just go to bed at night thinking, wow,
Yeah.
thank God. Thank God that you were in that position to help all these people in their positions.
Yeah. Hindsight, right? But when
Yeah.
you're in it, you're like, after this. Right?
Yeah.
But in hindsight, looking back, yeah, definitely. Well, hence his whole name, Serving Hope.
Yeah.
So we're serving hope.
Yeah, you are.
Like the food, clothing, hygiene is just, it's non-binary. We're really serving hope.
What do you feel is the biggest contributor to homelessness in youth?
Yeah, great question. So, what we find through those who we serve, the biggest contributions are kids who ran away, kids from divorced families, kids who were bullied in school and no one listened, so again, they ran away themselves.
Right.
But most of it comes down to a lot of the kids that we see in the streets are kids who are either bisexual or they're gay, and their parents couldn't wrap their heads around it. So they thought the only solution was to leave the property, to leave the house, right? And they ran. And so we see a lot of that. Very surprisingly, we don't see a lot of kids going into, or what triggers homelessness for kids or teenagers is any kind of abuse. So we don't see alcohol abuse, we don't see drug abuse, we don't see any of that. Mental challenges, we don't see any of that. The biggest challenge that we see are kids who are not understood. So they run away because that's the only way they think they're going to be able to get lives.
And when they run away,
They run to the streets.
they just run up on the street.
And then that's when the addictions start kicking in. They need somebody to cope. That's when they find alcohol. That's when they find drugs. But it didn't trigger them. What triggered them was the fact that they couldn't express themselves in their own home with their parents.
Does Serving Hope have any sort of programs that help you that are facing these challenges?
We don't. Again, that's for our partners.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so we have partners who specifically deal with those who are less fortunate, being teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
And again, they kind of come through us, and then we cipher them to our partners who do that.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
So you have your specialities, and you send them over to people who are specialities.
Right. I mean, for our partners who are specialized in what they do, we're almost like the net, right?
Oh,
the
right.
fisherman's net,
right.
Through the food, clothing, hygiene, and our events that we do weekly, we're just out there casting this big net. Hey guys, come to us, we got food. Hey guys, come to us, we got clothing. Hey guys, come to us, we got hygiene.
And then you talk to them further and find out what else they need.
Right, and then we assess them, and we go, okay, great, you'd be great for Tom over here who's great, specializes with teenagers who are dealing with drug abuse.
Nice.
And you're ready.
And you're ready.
So let me introduce you.
So the people that aren't ready, how do you deal with those?
Though that's heartbreaking because you can't do anything. They're not ready. You're just wasting time, energy, resources. You can't force them to be ready. They have to be ready.
What do you feel, in your opinion, makes them ready?
They coming to a realization of where they're at in life currently right now, the options that they have and the options they don't have, and who's there for them. Like, who's there for me right now in this moment while I have nothing? Right? Whether it's serving hope or someone else. And then they have to come to the realization that where they are right now isn't working.
And how did you get involved in dips and sticksdaily.com?
Yes.
Dips and sticks. It sounds like the candy used to
Exactly. Yeah.
Remember the candy used to put the powder, like dip and stick?
Yep.
Is you running a candy business now?
Not running a candy business.
Dips and sticks. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was actually kind of the inspiration behind the name. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so.
So I really started, now that Serving Hope's kind of doing its thing, it really doesn't need me because it's organized, it's got structure, like it's doing its own thing.
Right.
And right before last year, we were in 5 different states. We were in Vegas, we were in Hawaii, we were in New York, we were in Florida, and I was going to open up an office in the UK. And so, I mean, it's self-sufficient.
Right.
So I had a lot of free time now. We know when the pendulum swings, like over here, you're putting in all this time and effort, you're getting nothing out of it, and eventually it swings in your favor. And when it swings in your favor, now everything is happening. It doesn't need as much energy as you put in when the swing was over here.
Right.
And that's what Serving Hope is now. It's kind of like working on its own. It doesn't even need me anymore. They kick me out. Like, what the heck? So I started Dips and Sticks as a way to kind of, just kind of do something new and challenge myself.
And what exactly does Dips and Sticks do?
So Dips and Sticks is a community for not those who are less fortunate, even though they could participate if they want, but it's more geared towards the everyday person who's looking to get into cryptocurrency investments, they're looking to get into NFTs, they're looking to get into the metaverse. And what we do is we provide education, we provide the consulting, and we help them actually transition into this new digital space where there's a lot of money to be made. So, yeah.
It's way out of my league.
Yeah.
But I do hear there's a lot of money to be made in it.
And it's good too because we dig deep into the NFT space and we have a lot of projects that actually give back. So NFTs is just a way of claiming ownership in the digital space. Like today on Facebook, if you were to post something on Facebook, you don't own that post. You might have made it on your Facebook page, but Facebook owns that post. Right? Because Facebook takes all of your personal data, they sell it to advertisers, and that's how they make their money, so those advertisers can sell their products right back to you.
And for those who don't know, what is NFT?
So NFT is a non-fungible token. So I don't really, before we go...
What?
Non-fungible token.
Okay.
So think of NFT as like a certificate of ownership. So if I own a house, my certificate of ownership is the title to the house.
Right, like a car.
Right. If I own a car, my certificate of ownership is the title to the car. In the digital space, your certificate to owning something is an NFT.
Okay.
So if I own a digital image, then the NFT says I own that image. So it's the title to that image.
Okay.
So, which is very, very important because now as we move kind of in this digital space and digital era and, in our lifetime, and lifetime of those below us, younger than us, we're going to grow up in this. We're just learning about it. We're going to live in it.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah, so, but the NFT, again, is just digital rights to that digital product or whatever that is, that image.
Okay.
Right? So, which is important because every time now that image gets shared, I get royalties. Just give me an example. Because I own it.
Okay.
So when we see, here's an example, Kings of Leon, the group, the band. If you're familiar with them, if not, it's okay. Last year they launched an entire album and turned it into an NFT. And they sold the album digitally to all their fans. And when they sold that NFT to their fans now own the song off the album.
Oh, okay.
Right? They created the album, they made an NFT, they sold it to their fan, and the fan bought it. They now own ownership in that song. And now they own that song. So the band gave them ownership of their music. Yeah. And they smashed all records. They sold each NFT at $50 a pop. Each song was $50 a pop.
Wow.
Yeah. They
sounds a lot of money.
They made a smash. It was killing me. Right? So, but there's so many ways that we can really dive deep into NFTs and how they work. But most popular is in music today because music industry is just, if you're a popular artist, you might be selling out, stadiums and going on tour every year, but you're only making like 20 grand a show. You're probably only making a few $100 per ticket. And the rest of it goes to promoters, goes to record labels, goes to the executives, right? The artist doesn't get anything. Only in the NFT space, if they were to do that today, they would own 100% of their own music.
Okay. Well, speaking of making a lot of money, previous to coming on the podcast, we were talking about misspending.
Yes, yeah.
So, can you tell us a little bit more about misspending going on?
Yeah, so, and we were talking about the misspending going on in, the less fortunate community.
Yes.
Right, so, and I think the question you added was, what is, one of the biggest problems that we see in the less fortunate community, right, on the grassroots level. Yeah. And what we see is that, a lot of the money that becomes available to organizations that are making an impact in the communities, and when it trickles down from, say, the government, when it trickles down to them from the grants, it usually ends up going to the largest of all companies, the largest of all organizations, the nationwide organizations that make an impact, right? And once it goes through them, whatever's left trickles down to the next layer of, community impact programs, and usually that's state, county, etc. Well, by the time it gets to the grassroots guys, like myself and whoever else, we barely see anything or nothing at all. Because it's already been taken by everyone above us, right? So,
and who's in charge of distributing it?
The county, the state, they get money and they get it in this big pot, and in this big pot they go, okay, this organization's going to get $1, this organization's going to get 50, this organization's going to get 1,000, this one's going to get 10,000, and a lot of it isn't spent correctly. A lot of it is spent on. And again, it's a very blanketed statement, but a lot of it is spent on being reactive to the problem of less fortunate versus proactive. So, one of the ways that we're going to get someone off the streets isn't by creating another homeless shelter. Right. That's reactive. What's proactive is going into the community and going, what is it going to take for you to get off your feet, get back on your feet?
Like you do.
Yeah. What does that look like to you? What do you need? Let's not assume you need another homeless shelter. Let's assume that you need a resource we don't even know. Mm-hmm. Let's start there.
And you had mentioned that an app was how organizations spend their money.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at my notes.
But yeah. So that was an example. So I was on the board of a community of advisors. I don't want to say the name, but it's pretty big here in Vegas, and a lot of people who are on the board own big companies here in Vegas. I was only there because I was the guy that kind of rose from nothing, and they're like, well, this dude works in the streets, knee deep serving those who are less fortunate. We need this insight. Let's have him on board. So I joined the board, And being on this board, we were part of a small kind of incubator that would receive the money that came from the government. We received like a small pot, just throwing a number out there would be like 10 million. And it was our job to make sure that 10 million went out to all the organizations that needed it in the valley that were doing work with those for us fortunate. Yeah. Now I was on the board, so I couldn't take any for myself. That was a kicker. But I could make sure that those organizations out there that are doing things in the community, the real ones that need it and deserve it, were getting it. So that was the benefactor. So getting back to the app, when I was there, the first year I was on the board, there was an organization there that the year prior was awarded $2 million out of this pot. And the board voted. The board voted. They're like, yes, you deserve the $2 million. Okay, great. Go make something happen. Go make an impact in the community. Bring us back your results next year when the money comes available.
Right.
So they came back.
So they can get refunded.
They can get even more money. Right? So they came back and they had to show and prove what they did with the numbers, the money, what kind of impact they made in the community. And this is the first year I'm on the board, so I'm sitting there and I'm very excited, by the way, because this organization, I've never heard of them before, but they gave $2 million to these guys. I want to hear what they did with it.
Right.
If I had $2 million, I'd like, come on, let's go, right? So they got up and they're talking about what they did with the money and how they spent it. And all in all, it came down to they built an app for people who are homeless.
So my next question is, do homeless people have access to the electronics or the phones to even look at an app?
No, it's like 4 out of 10.
I'm surprised that you would do that many.
4 out because of government phones.
Oh, right.
But the government phones don't come with internet access, so they can only use them when they're through Wi-Fi areas.
So the percentage of people that will probably be utilizing this app is
close to zero.
Yeah.
Right? But they took $2 million, they made an app for people who are homeless, so the people who are homeless who have access to this app can find resources in the community where to get food, where to get clothing, where to find a bed, blah, blah, blah.
Did they get refunded?
I don't know, because I actually, I can put it after that.
You're like thinking,
yeah, I see enough, I'm done.
You're looking at like everything that you need in your organization as, tangible and what you're using in the community and serving all these homeless people and, I mean, all these amazing things that you're doing and you're like, and $2 million went towards an app. Ooh.
Yeah. And they were there asking for another $4 million.
Oh. Well, maybe they would have been doing 2 more apps.
Yeah. So, but my point of view is completely different from them and those on the board because, again, I look at it as a proactive issue, not a reactive issue. Building an app for people who are homeless and spending $2 million at it, by the way, was a lot of money to build one app. One app. And
I didn't realize apps were that expensive.
They're not.
Okay, so now we got a whole other issue.
Yeah, so we're going into this spending.
I have no idea.
This spending of funds, right? It's just like, but here's the thing. It's not to take away from anything that any of them do, because we didn't mention any names, so we're not mentioning names, right? But not to take away from anything that they do, or anyone on the board of that organization I was on the board with, all the right people with good intentions, just doing it the wrong way.
Right.
It's just, they're going about it wrong.
Well, I would just be interested in understanding how the mindset, like, when I think of homeless people, I think of, like, the challenges that you had. I mean, you are looking for some change, let alone having the opportunity of using a phone with apps on it.
Right.
The last thing on your mind is a phone with apps. The only thing that's on your mind is something, a roof over your head, and where you're going to get your next meal.
Right. Exactly.
Apps and phones, I'm sure, I don't know, I mean, you speak from experience, right? I mean, when you were sitting on that staircase in the 7-Eleven parking lot and looking for the change, were you thinking about your next phone and your apps and all this other stuff? And then if you think about it, the resources, even though the app might be telling you where to go and where to utilize these other resources, how are you going to get there?
Right.
The money to get there.
Right.
So all of these things, it would be interesting to understand like where the mindset even came from for the people to be thinking that this type of technology would even be accessible to that population.
Right. I mean, and that's why the grassroots organizations are the most underserved and undervalued organizations, even though they do the most work.
Why is that?
Just because they know what it takes. They know what it takes to get it done, and those who don't know what it takes to get it done are getting more money than they are because they're higher up on the food chain.
You would think it would be just the opposite.
You would think, yeah. But they deserve all the applause because they're the ones making the real impact. They're grassroots guys and girls.
100%. I mean, look at your company. I mean, it's now spread out to all these different states and serving hundreds of thousands of people, changing lives all over the place.
Yeah.
You know, and then you have your dips and sticks.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've got, I mean, the dips and sticks is great. It's fun. You know, and it's for people who like to give because I'm doing a lot of stuff for the NFTs that give back. So,
and that's here in our community.
Yeah, that's here in
So can you tell people how they can find Serving Hope in Las Vegas and your Dips and Sticks daily.com?
Yes.
Well, I just said it.
Well, you just did. Yeah.
Well, you know,
yeah.
Like where can they find you? Where can they get a hold of you? Where can people contact you? And where they can find Serving Hope if anyone wants to have anything to do with Serving Hope, if they want to become a volunteer or even donate, like how can people find everything that you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, it's very easy. I mean, you can follow me on social media everywhere. Siloh Moses, SILOH, and Moses, MOSES. Serving Hope LV was born and raised on Facebook, so you can always search Serving Hope LV on Facebook. You'll find all of our posts. You can connect with us that way. If you're into NFTs and technology and you want to learn about cryptocurrency and the metaverse, it's dipsandsticksdaily.com. You can go there, sign up for our free newsletter, and get you started.
We'll have to exchange emails because he's like, you don't get my newsletter? Oh my god.
Yeah.
So we have to exchange emails. Juvenile Justice, if you want to contact us, we're juvenilejusticeimpact@gmail.com. You can always see us at www.impactjji.com. Or if you want to give us a call, you can call us at 888-JJI-0010. And thank you so much for coming on. We love having you here.
My pleasure.
And
been fun.
What an incredible impact he's having not only on our community, but nationwide. And it's an honor to know you. We're lucky to have you here in Las Vegas. And we definitely look forward to learning more about your Dips and Sticks. And we'll definitely have you at one of our workshops up and coming. We're just setting our calendar right now, and we're going to have our first kind of launch workshop coming up in February, and we're just going to wait for the holidays to pass, and we'd love to have you there.
Awesome. Yeah, I like it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for your time. Thank you for all that you do.
My pleasure.
Thank you for all the lives that you're changing, and it's an honor to know you, to have you in our community, and saving some of the lives.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on the show.